I have a lot of questions to ask you about your corporate career because as I'm sitting here and talking to you, I'm thinking, how did someone with so many opinions for good reason, with a really strong stance on things, manage corporate, North America? Because I think that there's so many boundaries and constraints in that environment. Like you said, there's so many official and unofficial rules. What was that period of your life like, trying to navigate change from within organizations and externally, because you were in marketing roles, shaping campaigns and reaching consumers. So I'm really curious to get your perspective on what corporate life was like for you.
I think the most important thing is that you need to establish your worth. You need to know your worth.
Yeah.
And you need to ensure that you are either irreplaceable or incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
That is something as an immigrant you have to get to first before you start the complaining, before you start picking things out, because unfortunately, that's just the way things are.
Yeah.
So you do have to play the game to that point. And that is all in the desire to get to a place eventually where you can be yourself and be confident enough and build that backbone to push back. So I'll give you an example. When I was at Richard Ivey School of Business doing my MBA, I was quite different from many others. And in some ways I was not willing to conform. Yeah. So one of the Chinese immigrant students in my class asked me, what name are you going to put on your resume? Because there is this general approach, especially by Chinese immigrant students, that they will adopt a Western name.
Yeah.
And, Min will become Tina.
Yeah.
Or Chung Man will become Michael.
Yeah.
And we weren't really raised with that culture. I mean, you see it more in certain parts of South Asian culture. I know there are a lot of Punjabi friends of mine where you'll be a Sunny or a Vicky or whatever, right? But not so much in our, definitely not in our family, but not so much, it's not as common in Pakistan at all. So it was an interesting question that was posed to me, and I asked, I was like, well, why would I change my name? My name is Adil, that's what will be on my resume, on my CV. And he said, well, it'll be easier for them to know you. And that was probably the first time I actually actively thought about that. I'm like, wow, okay. So my job as the immigrant coming to Canada is to make life easier for the Canadians. And I thought a lot about it. I'm like, well, I am grateful to be here. I am an immigrant, so maybe that's part of gratitude. But I'm still not going to change my name. That's not what I'm not going to do that. But there are other areas and other ways that sure I'll conform. So as background, when I was in Chicago, I was a bit of a raver. I had spiky hair, and this is obviously in the 90s, not at the age of 44. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't have pink hair right now. But I went through that phase. I had my tongue pierced. I was out there. I was partying. And went through the MBA program where almost everyone is looking to get a job in consulting or banking, in a suit all day, very corporate, 2003 to 2005. And as I started going to interviews, I realized that you have to play the game to get your foot in the door. Because at the end of the day, the person across from you interviewing you will appreciate if you look like them. As much as you can. And that is sad, but it's true. Right? So I was in my suit, side part, glasses, tried to look as the stereotype of the most valuable immigrant, the nerd who will do the work and be hardworking, be deferential, and not cause any issues. Got the job. So I got multiple offers, but I had a job offer well before graduation. Very lucky. Again, incredibly grateful. As an immigrant, very, very fortunate to have that. I can look back and say, well, I got it not because of luck, because I was smart and I interviewed well and I knew what I was talking about, but very grateful. And then there was that period before I graduated and I went back to being myself. And of course, I show up the first day of work. My mohawk is back. I had the presence of mind to say, okay, I can start pushing the envelope a little bit because now they've given me the job. Now they're going to fire me. And I showed up there. And I was the first out gay person who was overtly out. There was one other guy, who was out, but not overt about
Yeah.
it. But I was pretty overt from the get-go, and I made it a point to always ensure I was doing those little things that needed to be done
Yeah.
to make sure that we are making an impact. And to answer your original question, it was about establishing yourself as smart, capable, accomplished, and once you have done that and people accept that, then you get ballsy.